So good morning, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening. I have no idea where you are, but we have people here from all over the world, from Singapore to Europe to Moscow, Kuwait, Ecuador, Brazil, the United States, Canada. So pretty much everywhere. I don't think any penguins are around, but I mean, it's pretty much all the continents are here with us today. So thank you very much for being there. And this is actually the 9th webinar that I've been doing since March 18th. So it started pretty much 1 month ago, since in my country, mostly in Europe, everything was locked. So the purpose of the webinars was not actually to educate, was more to entertain. And of course, the things that put us here all together is our passion for gems and jewelry. And so, therefore, a lot of topics have been shared on the gems and jewelry topics. And Vincent, I just told you, he's quite a character in the gem industry. He became, his passion about gemstones became his profession. I mean, pretty much like many people in the industry. I'm another example, but I don't have the courage to go to the places that he goes to do whatever he does. And whatever he does is important because, and he will explain that, because laboratories, they need samples collected on site so they can build their own databases and their own research, so they can issue opinions on origin. So, and there are more issues that are important in field gemology. He's pretty much connected with conservation. He's also an activist on conservation. So he has written many articles and made presentations on environmental conservation. So I think you will have the privilege to share with him, or for him to share with you what it is to be on the field and the challenges to go on the field. And because he's generous, you will be able to be with him and ask him whatever questions you wish. And I will call Vincent to the floor, so I can just say a few words to him, and then he can let me see if I need to do something. Maybe I need to ask to start video and unmute Mr. Pardieu. I think now you are able to come online. Hello, Vincent.
Hello. Hello, Rui. How are you?
I'm great. It's sunny in Portugal. It's afternoon. I know it's about midnight in Bangkok. Thank you very much for accepting doing 2 sessions, one in the morning and one in the evening, and to share with all this audience your precious time. Thank you very much. I'm going to leave you with the audience. I'm going to shut up my video and my microphone, and I will be back to you when the Q&A, when you finished. Hopefully, I will be here when you finished. Okay, bye-bye. The floor is yours. Please, everybody, enjoy Vincent's talk. Bye-bye.
Hello, everybody. And first of all, I want to say that this is a true pleasure to be here, to have been invited to give this talk. So I would like to thank Rui and also the CIVJO to give me this opportunity to have this talk today in front of you. So these times are quite difficult. I hope that everybody is safe. You have to be very careful. You know, I'm today confined in Bangkok. In my family, one of my uncle in France had the coronavirus. So he was traveling in Africa, and when he came back from Africa, he passed through the airport in Paris, and he probably catch the virus there. And then he spent a few days, quite a lot, about more than 1 week in hospital. He lost about 10 kilos in 12 days. It was not fun. It was really not fun. And now he's back at home. He is okay. He will survive. He's a strong guy. In family, we have strong people. So we are quite lucky about that. But this is not something that I wish to anyone. So please just be very careful, stay home, and try to make sure that this virus will stop as soon as possible, basically minimizing the contact with people. So I'm a kind of field gemologist, which is not traveling today because, well, this is not the right time to travel. This is a time to stay safe. And if we stay safe and if we survive, we might be able to go to the field again in the next future. So my talk today will be about field gemology. So this is a bit basically the summary of the talk. I will first speak about what is field gemology, and then that will be the serious part at the beginning, and then we'll go to something maybe more refreshing about what is a field expedition, how to get ready, practical advice about how to get ready if you want to go to the field, and what can you expect going to the mine. I have this motto that I'm using all the time because, you know, sometimes when you go to the field, things never happen exactly as planned. So you have to expect the unexpected. And then back to the field, what you should do. So, sorry again. So this is the topic of the talk. What is field gemology? What is a field expedition? How to get ready, going to the mine, expect the unexpected, and back to the field. So what is field gemology? So field gemology is a kind of popular topic these days. Recently, you have a great talk about this gentleman who was my student for about 2 years when I was working at GA, and then when I left, you know, he took over the field gemology department. So he gave a great talk about everything that, you know, I teach him. And then recently also in the last Gem on Gemmology, published an article about field gemology and that, and that, and that. So the article has a lot of great content, I have to say that. And basically I could have written that because this is the thing that I was teaching him. And he was very good on that. Now, there is something that he was not very good at, and he's regularly not very good at, is about giving credit to people and thanks. At the end of the article in Gem on Gemmology, it's written, the GA Field Gemology Department effort were initiated by Andy Lucas and Vincent Pardieu. I'm sorry, this is wrong. Andy Lucas didn't initiate the Field Gemology Department. He was a guest in some of my expeditions. The person who initiated the Field Gemology Department is that gentleman, Ken Scarratt. He is the one who asked me in 2008 to come to help him and to build a Field Gemology Department. He's the one who initiated that, not Andy Lucas. And then when you read the rest of the thing, there is not one word of thanks about the thing. And worse, in the article, basically he is explaining the kind of A-type, B-type, and things like that, without giving credit to the first article we did in 2009, where we explained the whole thing. So the article and the talks that he gave are great. I want to basically tell you, go to see that, go to read that. There is a lot of great information there. But so with all this great information, what should I talk about? You know, because basically Wim is doing that and with a lot of talent. So one of my friends advised me and said, Vincent, please don't be the parrot of the parrot. So do something else. Give him credit for what he did and do something else. So this is what I will do today. I will not speak about what is on the talk from Wim or what is on the article. I will give some kind of more personal thing. Because there is one thing I learned in gemmology. Field gemmology is not about taking credit for the work that other people did. It's about going to the unknown, do useful research, and share it. So that was for the serious part. From 2002 to 2004, I traveled to Myanmar in order to buy gems with Henry Ho, and we built a website with gemwa.com. This is not exactly gemmology, field gemmology. This is what I call gem trading. I saw that I make a spelling mistake on the name of Henry. This is very bad. Then what we did at the beginning, basically at AIGS lab, AIGS was not doing origin determination. We went to the field in order to collect some sample. I was a gemmology teacher in order to try to find out, you know, how to make the difference between sapphires and rubies that were hit. So this is the way we started. Then at this time I was working at AIGS and I was the webmaster of AIGS and I was building the website. But some people at AIGS were thinking that with my input, AIGS website was becoming too much like an Indiana Jones outfit. So as we started the field gemmology project with Henry, Henry allowed me to have my own website, a website that I call FIELDGEMOLOGY.com, and on which I was sharing things about going to the field. So like that, AIGS website was not too much, contaminated by my field content on my enthusiasm to go to the field. When I left AIGS in 2007, I was stolen my website because my domain name fell in the public. Somebody took it and wanted $20,000 to get it back. So I didn't agree to pay this $20,000, and I created a new website called FIELDGEMOLOGY.org. And then I continued to share my field trip and experience in the field, photograph, report. At this time I was at Galopim, and field gemology was still my hobby. I was working at Galopim as a staff in the lab, and I was going to the field during my holiday most of the time at my expense. Then, my hobby after 3 or 4 years of sharing this kind of thing got the attention of people, especially at GA. And one day, Ken Scarratt, who was a director of GA in Thailand, asked me to turn my hobby into my profession and to come to GA and to create a field gemology department for GA. And I went there. So I changed again my website, I readapted, I changed the format. And I made the website more like suitable for GA, but it was not a GA website, it was still some independency. Then in 2012, GA basically asked me that I should contribute more to the GA website, and they were changing the GA website. So, and at the same time, I started to get interested into video. So, you don't have the time to do everything. So I put my website into a kind of a silent mode, and I went to focus on doing video and putting some content on GA website. I opened a YouTube account and I started doing that. Now, the good news is that field gemology is coming back, because now with this confinement, the main thing I'm doing is I'm working on my website in order to update everything, and this website should be back hopefully within a few weeks. So soon you will be able to visit that. So since 2004, what I'm doing is I'm traveling around the world to visit gem mining area in order to collect reference specimens in the field for gem lab. And this is what I call field gemology. This is about research, not about trading. So I have led 148 expeditions to 21 different countries for 4 different labs: AIGS, Galopim, GA, and recently Danat in Bahrain. So these gem labs are doing research on origin determination and also about how to detect treatment. And in order to be able to do that, they need reference samples. So what I'm doing is collecting reference samples that I'm bringing back in the lab. So this sample can get cataloged and then fabricated in order to be able to collect some data. And then you have the researcher and the staff gemologists working in the lab who are collecting data on this sample. Then they put that in a database and they share the data with the people who are working on production in order for these people to have less problem when they get a customer stone. So the important thing is to make sure that the sample is well documented. So like that, the researcher, they will be able to know exactly what is this sample, in which condition it was collected. This is the most important step. And evaluate the reliability of this sample. So thanks to that, when you have a reliable and well-documented reference collection, laboratories are in a much better position to provide a reliable report about origin, about treatment, about everything. So this is basically the base on research. Field gemology is one piece of the chain, but as you have seen, you have many other parts of the chain, and the chain is as strong as the weakest element in the chain. So my job was to make sure that at least this lab were able to get reliable sample. So what is a field expedition? Okay, now we are going I will try to make the thing a bit more fun. So gemmology, field expedition, basically knowledge and preparation are the key. You have to know what you look at. Sometimes when you go to the field, things are tricky. What is this stone? Well, this stone is a late glass field ruby that I saw just near the mine. And one of my mentors, Richard, used to say, the closer you go to the mine, the more likely you will find synthetic and imitation. And he's right. Very often, The people with synthetic and imitation looks very innocent. So a field expedition is not really tourism. Actually, it's more like a military expedition. I did a military academy, so I have some understanding of that. The key point is that you need to get yourself seriously ready. How to do that? Well, my advice, study gemmology is a good start. So at least you will be able to know what you will buy, and if you are a gem trader, you will be able also to know what you sell. So this is what I did. I went to study gemmology, first in Myanmar, because this is ruby land, and you know, if you're a French guy, you want to learn about wine, I think that Bordeaux or Burgundy is great. But if you want to study about gem, my idea was I have to go to the gem, to the place where you have the gem. So for me, it was natural to come to study gemmology in Myanmar and also later in Thailand. The problem with my diploma in Myanmar is that nobody knew about it, so they were thinking that I was a crook. So then I say, okay, I should have a diploma with a good public recognition. I asked, which diploma has the best public recognition? And people told me GIA. So I went to GIA in Thailand, and I studied in-campus program, and I had a great time because I was able to see also the trade in Thailand. So it was a great experience. Preparing an expedition. Well, it starts with some serious homework. That's the bad news for people who think that this is easy. First thing you need maps. So in order to get maps, my advice is get all the publication you can. My advice, build yourself a good reference library and not just keep the book in the shelf. Please read them. If you don't have yet a good reference library, luckily for the past 20 years, you have great internet resources. You can go to GA website and you will have the full collection of gem and gemmology that you can download, and you can read. It's a mountain of knowledge. Now, there are other resources. You have also Gemme. Gemme puts their incredible journal of gemmology, also online. So you can go to read for free, download and read for free all this issue of Journal of Gemmology. Then you have also INCOLOR, which is the ICA, International Colorstone Association. They have also a magazine, and this magazine is an incredible source also of information. It's more trade-oriented, but you have also great articles about gemmology. So I advise also to go to see this magazine and to collect them and to read them. Then you have other ones that are sadly not available online, but that I enjoy a lot. I enjoy a lot, the Australian Gemmologist. That is a really great magazine. And also the Revue de Gemmology FG, for those who speak French. It's in French. This is a great one. Then you have also the German, but I don't speak German, so I don't have the magazine from Ida Oberstein, but I heard that it's also quite good. So then you have now informative website like FIELDGEMOLOGY, but it's not online, but you have other one like a Palagem, like a Ruby and Sapphire from Richard Hughes. Many informative websites are just waiting for you to go to get some data. Then you can go also to watch documentaries on YouTube, where I have this channel with more about, now you have 31 videos of the recent expedition I did for the past 3 years that are online on this channel. And then when you have gathered all this information, my advice is go to see the real thing. But first, there is this wonderful tool that is called Google Earth that you can go to use, it's free, and you can go to get satellite map of the area. So you can, you have the map in the article, you go online, and you can see with sometimes some incredible detail what is going on in the mining area. So this is all the time a great advantage to be able to go in a mining area and to know that on the other side of the hill, there is a mine. Then when you reach the country, my other advice is, why don't you go to the geological survey? At the geological survey, you might find geological maps that can be very useful for your work, and also some publications that were not available on the internet. So this is a good place also to go. Then you will need help, because you have all the theory, you have all the articles that were ever, published, all the books published on the subject, but now you need to go to the place. So how to do that? Well, you need to have a good team. I don't advise to travel alone to gem mining area, and you will understand why. So you need a good team because you need some local contact, a local support, like a gem trader who knows what are the regulations, where are the mine. He's he knows about the latest materials that came in the trade and things like that. And more importantly, he knows how to get the right permission for you to visit the mine. There are many countries where, as a tourist or as a foreigner, you are not allowed to go to visit the mine. So you need to have somebody organizing you some permissions. And you better do that if you don't want to end up in jail. So your local contact will help you to go to the mine, but also you will need probably a local gem merchant to help you to export the stone, because again, most of the time, a tourist, a visitor is not allowed to export a rough stone and things like that. So you need the help of a local gem merchant. Basically, you need a local contact. This is what gem merchants are doing, and this is what you do as a field gemologist. You need to have a local contact. Then the local contact is most of the time a businessman. He is, he's in an office somewhere in a trade center, and he can help you. But most of the time, he will not have really time to go with you in the field. So then you need to have a local guide, somebody who is knowledgeable because you don't want to get lost, somebody who knows the place, somebody also who will take you to the right spot, somebody who knows the miner, and he will be able to introduce you to the miner to make sure that, this guy will accept to have some visitors. Most of the mines are privately owned. So, if your local contact knows the miner, it will really simplify, your visit to this mine. Now, also, somebody who knows the stone and who will help you, to find the stones that you need. Then you need to have the right assistant. In my opinion, this is very important. I used to work as a team. I work as a team, with people all my life, and I don't like to do things just alone. So tough, strong guy are, of course, very useful. Straight shooters are also great, but the best thing is somebody with the right attitude. Some people to share hard time with you, some people who might, give you a hand in difficult times. Also, some people who might push you a bit. Sometimes you need to be pushed. But also, people who will take you out of trouble. Like, one day I broke an arm in Vietnam, and it was in a remote place, and I had to walk, for 3 hours in order to come back to my hotel with a broken arm. And well, just to go out from the mining pit in which I felt, I could not have done that myself. But you need also people to share good times. That's important. This is Richard Hughes. On that day, he was reaching 50 years old, and we were in the field in Maryland, and you had these two great guys that he was super happy to have in order to celebrate his birthday. But mainly, what you need is some people who help you to collect data. When I go to the field, I don't take selfie of myself buying a stone or doing this or doing that. It's much better to have a good photographer traveling with you so they can document the expedition and document what you are doing. Then sometimes also, if you don't think that photography is just great, but you are more like a video guy, you might think that it's a good idea, to travel with a cameraman. So then you can have videos that, you will be able to share on your YouTube, or just, for your memories in the future. Good cameraman is all the time useful. Somebody to watch your back. This is good. You never know what happened. Regarding security, you might need some kind of bodyguard. Yeah. But actually for security, the most important thing is to have a good driver. One of the most main danger when you travel and you go to a remote area is to have a car accident. So get a good driver. Don't save money on the driver. Then this is the perfect team. You have the right travel buddy, you have the right local guide, you have the right driver. When you go to the fields, the driver stays at the car, you have your bag there, so that's good. You have a good driver who keeps the house, and then you can go with the guide on your travel buddy to collect data. So, but you're not done yet. Now, what you need is some serious planning. Because it's not really a great idea to travel to, for example, in Africa during the rainy season. You might get stuck in the mud for weeks. Or also to travel to a place where it's so dry that nobody is working. In many places, miners need to wash the gravel. If there is no water, there is no mining. Or, you have to be careful also when you go to some place, you know, there are few days where the people are not working because, oh, this is a full moon, or this is Sunday, or this is Ramadan. So you have to plan your visit at the mine at a time where people are working. Now, what can a lab rat like me or some other people can expect to do when they go to the field? Well, a lab rat might crawl into rat holes, for sure, sleep in dirty places, you have to expect that, and most of the time feed on what is available. And sometimes you don't have much choice. So it might get tough in the field, for example, if you are a vegetarian, because in many places, like you go to meet Maasai people, they eat blood and meat. They don't eat vegetable. And people in the mountain, like Pakistan, Afghanistan, also, they don't eat too much vegetable. They eat a lot of meat. Now, well, with good friends, maybe some people will share and will find a way for you to have some food and to be able to survive. But basically, adaptation to the place and the people is, in my opinion, the key in order to have a successful expedition. So then you have to prepare your bag. So, in my opinion, the lighter the bag, the better. Because the way to the mine can be very tricky. And sometimes it's better to have no bag at all if you want to be safe, because, you know, when you are in a funny place like that, you have a bag and then you lose your balance, you fall down and you die. So you need also to have some field instruments. So when I started Gemmology, I bought this book, Gem Identification Made Easy by Antoinette Matlin, that was published in 1989. I bought it in 2000. And I started to read the book. And it's a great book because it teaches you how to use a portable instrument, pocket instrument, and how to get the best of it. And then there was this article in Gem and Gemmology that I read in 2002 by Edward Byrne that was about portable instrument and tips on practical gemmology in the field. So when I started field gemmology, you know, in 2003, 2004, when I had to lead myself my own expedition, because before I was the assistant of some other people, you know, these two articles were really important for me to select the right instrument to go to the field and to learn how to use them. So field trip instruments, in my opinion, any instrument is useful if you have it and if you know how to use it properly. My favorite, Tenix loop, Darcy loop, dichroscope, and a powerful torchlight. So this is a slide from a talk I gave at AIGS in 2005, just after returning from my first 3 months long expedition in Africa, in Asia. So gem merchants, most of the time, are using a powerful torchlight because they check rough, so they want to see inside the fractures, the inclusion. So for that, you need to have a powerful torch. Now, as a gemologist, where you are trained to work with a microscope, I think the best instrument to go to the field and to keep your practice ongoing is a dark field loop, which is basically a Tenix loop with a dark field illumination. And basically with that, it's the same as if you have a Tenix microscope when you go to the field. So every time you are looking at a faceted stone or a stone that was broken so you can study the inside, the dark field loop is just great. Then a GPS is important because maybe, you know, you want to remember what was the spot exactly where this mine is located. So getting a GPS is super important. Then some pen, paper to take notes and a good camera, but most of the time, again, you know, it's difficult to take notes and take selfie at the same time. It's better to have, you know, somebody taking photographs. So then after that, you might remember who was the guy who sold you the stone and things like that, because your expedition was documented. So these are the instruments I use most of the time. Darcy loop, torchlight, GPS, cell phone is easy to contact people, my camera, my notes, some plastic bags, some tweezers. This is what I have in the field. And of course, my Tenix loop, my normal Tenix loop. Now, geological hammer, well, I'm not a geologist. I study analytical chemistry. So I prefer to travel with geologists, and sometimes I have a hammer in case they forget, but usually geologists don't forget the hammer. But in order to get myself an education, I found it very interesting to travel with geologists because I bring to the field somebody who has some knowledge that I don't have, and slowly, over the past 20 years, I have learned a lot. So I don't have a degree in geology, but I have a quite good understanding about the geology of ruby and sapphire deposit because I was lucky to travel a lot with many geologists. So going to the mine, expect the unexpected. Yeah, that's correct. All miners are not angels or saints. You have to expect to meet some bad guys. And sometimes it's not really easy to find out who is the good guy and who is the bad guy. You have to be very careful with troublemakers because most of the time when you go to the fields, the most dangerous people that you will have are the people in your team. I had a lot of experience with that. I can speak about that for hours. Traveling to mining area is not all the time easy. It's not all the time a piece of cake on a beautiful road and things like that. Sometimes some roads are very dangerous, especially, for example, in this mountain in Pakistan, when you end up on this road and there is a big stone and everything is very slippery. Sometimes the roads are too dangerous for car. Again, in Pakistan, in Kashmir, that Kashmir, you had some landslide and we had to stop the car and then to continue on walking, hoping not to get crushed by a rock. And sometimes there are no roads, so you have to walk in the mountain and find a way not to fall down. Most of the time, you have to adapt and use local transportation, maybe horse riding or just walking in a jungle-covered mountain. Mud is a regular pleasure. You have to enjoy mud if you want to go to the field. Because anyway, you don't worry, at the end you will go to the mine and probably the miner will have a great way to provide you a free shower. So a little bit of mud should not make you too much afraid. Then the issue is you can find leeches and wild dangerous animal like this elephant we met on the way to a ruby mine in the Tsavo in Kenya. But most of the time, the dangerous animals are the smaller one, like this scorpion. When you go around in the field and you are moving rocks, sometimes you have a scorpion, under the rock, and you can get an issue with that. But the most dangerous animal are actually the virus, the one that you will have in your food and get food poisoning and things like that. So don't worry about lion, about elephant. Most of the time, you will not have problem with them. There are many other things that are more dangerous, and especially number one danger, people. So there are also the mines that you don't want to find, like this is at the border between Thailand and Cambodia. You had the war with the Khmer Rouge and you have many minefields. So you want to go to see the mine, but maybe not this one. So you have to be careful. When you reach the mine, not all the time you will find a friendly crowd. Sometimes you will find some people who are just here, they will come to see you and they want to get you in trouble. So there are bandits, there are things like that. So sometimes you might need to have an armed escort in some place. Now, you have to be very careful about who is carrying a gun. My advice, if you go with an armed escort, like a policeman or soldier, try to make sure that this guy don't drink. Because drinks and drunks and gun together are not a good mix-up when you are in the middle of nowhere. Most of the time, my experience going to mine is that miners are very welcoming. They welcome you for food, they show you their life and their mine. So this is nice. When you reach the mine, it's nice to pose for a nice photograph, for your social media or for your memories. But, this is actually where the work is starting. There is work to be done. And what does it mean? Well, sometimes it's easy to witness mining and to get samples. Sometimes you just have to go on the floor and to pick up the samples. They are there available and you can pick them up. But sometimes, you have to go underground and it might get a little bit scary. All the mines are not easy to study, like you have light on friendly miners and things like that. Sometimes when you go underground, you will find a mine like this is a Tanzanite one. It was high-tech, but sometimes it's kind of low-tech to go down. And sometimes it's a very old tech. And sometimes you wonder if there is any tech at all about in this mine. This is a Bopadan mine in Mogok in 2003. So you have to be very careful. As I say in Follow the Zebra, which is the first documentary that I participate in, it was published in 2012. And if you don't have seen this movie, and at this time, if you have some time, go to my YouTube and go to Follow the Zebra and watch it. I don't understand how it's possible that only 3,000 people have seen that video, while some other video are going to 100 or 200,000. Follow the Zebra is probably one of the best video I have seen and participated about, for example, the gem trade, on how it is going on in East Africa. But that day we went down in Merilani, and you know, there was this vertical shaft. It was very dark, very dusty, because you had all this graphite dust. And you know, I was on the top of the pit. I was the last guy to enter the mine. And then under me, you had about 10 guys. And I remember all the time what people in the no-take at all mine in Burma told me: Vincent, be very careful, you are the last one. If you slip and fall, you kill everybody under you. So be careful. You know, when you are in a mine, it's not like a kindergarten. Be safe. So yeah, you have to be a little bit adventurous if you want to go to the field, and if you want to go to see the place where actually the stone are coming from. Or you can, if you are not that adventurous, you just stay outside of the pit and you take photo of people who go down and when they go up. Deep underground, it's not all the time easy. Sometimes you have light, but most of the time, you know, it can be a little bit funny, because the tunnel might be very narrow, but people might find that this is fun to go there. Light can be very weak. Just people sometimes mine with just a candlelight. Also, it can be very wet. You have infiltration of water, and the mine can be partially flooded. Sometimes it might get very dusty, and you will have to get a scarf in order not to brace too many graphite. But this is the place where you might understand geology. And you understand also how the miner found gem. You will be at the front of the mine, and miners, if you can communicate with them, will be able to explain you which are the indicators they are following, and how, and you will be able to witness actually the mining. So at the end, you will get the sample you wanted to study, and enough maybe sample to do some great research work when you will be back at the lab. So what is the secret in order to summarize? Remember, well, you need to get the hunting spirit and get ready for the mission. You have to get yourself ready. So you need to have a right team. You need to prepare your expedition correctly. In the field, you have to respect the local people, respect their way to do. If they wait, you know, like in Songya, the elders of the village wanted us to meet them and to explain to everybody what we wanted to do, and things like that. We had this powwow for about 2 hours. So that's the way, and this is the way to get accepted and to be able to visit the mine after. Okay, so let's spend 2 hours doing that powwow. So then you will get the support of the people. They will take you to the mine, and you will be able to see what is going on. Don't be arrogant, be close to them, adapt to them, you know, share knowledge with them, and basically exchange with them. Then they will help you. And you will be able to get what you are looking for, the sample that you need for, you know, your colleagues working in the lab. But then, you know, you give them credit on exposure, you know, on your social media. When you are back from the mine, you put a post. Maybe this guy is also on social media, so he will see that, you know, you thank him, and, you know, you speak positively about his mine, about the place. Mining is a hard job, and very few people, you know, go there, and many miners don't have too much exposure. So they are very happy when they see that something is coming back. They spend 1 day with you to help you to collect sample, so you can spend few minutes, you know, saying thanks. And sometimes doing that, you can wait for 3 years for your colleague to write an article that the miner will never read because there are no photographs, and this is a hardcore article about geology, and basically he's not reading that. And even if you say thank you in that article, he will not understand. He prefers to have somebody sharing a nice video or some nice photograph. And then when you will do that, please do that also on your online paper on publication. This is what I learned from basically my mentors, from Richard Hughes, people like Richard Hughes. You can go on his website, on all his articles, and you will see that he's giving credit to everybody, the driver, everybody else. And this is what he told me since the first time we traveled with him. And this is the same for gentlemen like Gaston Giuliani. When you go to see the article by Gaston, even if somebody Anybody who help him, you provide a sample and think that he will put you as a quota and he will put thanks. And when a guy like that, you know, who is all the time providing you credit and all the time says thank you and put you as a quota, ask you something, you want to help him. So when you return to the mine or when you will meet again these people, because you have shown some a bit of gratitude and appreciation for the help, they will be happy to see you and they will happy to help you again. So now, what to do after visiting the mine? Well, my advice is please write a good expedition report. So this is the first expedition report that I wrote for GAA when I started the GAA Field Gemology department in 2008. And it's about the expedition we did, the first expedition for training to set up the whole program we did to Palin. And in this report, you have explained what are, you know, what are we going to do, how to collect samples in the field, what are the protocols, A-type, B-type, C-type, everything is explained in that report. So if you're writing something about field gemology, I think that this is the first publication who speak about what is the GA way to do field gemology. So you should add this report probably to your publication list. So then you document correctly all your samples. When your samples are well documented and you have the report after that people can read, so people working on research will be able to decide if this sample or that sample is suitable. In 1 week, in 10 years, in 20 years, in 50 years, when you will be dead, they will have the sample and they will have all the information about how, when, where, from who this sample was collected. And this is a true reference sample when it's well documented. So that will be the end of that talk. So I would like to thank all my mentors, all the people, you know, who took me to the field, like Ted Temelis, my first expedition, and then who people who turn this hobby into a profession, like Henry Ho and of course Ken Scarratt, and the people who gave me a great advice in order to be successful in that gemological field, people like Gaston, people like Jean-Claude Michelou, and people like Richard. And finally, I want also to thank all the people that, you know, travel with me in the field. And sometimes these people had to deal with my bad mood, but it was all the time, you know, great to travel with people who had a good spirit. And I just like to share, if there is a space in my car, you know, I like to get to travel with people. So guys or ladies, whatever, you know, these people help me a lot and I would like to thank them. So thanks for your attention. That's the end. I have one more slide that I would like to share. It's on Sunday, I will have another webinar with one of my good friends, Justin Prim, who traveled with me in the field about 3 years ago, actually. And we will have a discussion. It will be a kind of a different format about the basic rule of field gemology. So if you want to know more about this topic, please feel welcome to join us on Sunday. And in the meanwhile, you can go around and read some great article about field gemology, see some other video, and you know, go to the next step. Louis, are you here?
Thank you very much, Vincent. It was a terrific presentation. Thank you very much, everybody. It was a pleasure and a privilege to listen to you and to laugh on your way of sharing the adventures. And I'm sure that in the field, sometimes it might not be as funny as we are having now at this point. Thank you very, very much for that. So, Vincent, I would ask you kindly to stop sharing your screen, so I can. What I'm going to do with everybody, with all of you, I'm going to just put here a series of questions, just like the quiz that we usually do. That then Vincent will not correct them, but he will go one by one explaining the main takeaways of this webinar. But Vincent, I've got people are already putting some questions at the Q&A. So try not to, by the way, try not to put the questions on the chat log, because we are hundreds of attendees today. It's really hard to keep abreast of all the comments. So if you have a question, put it on the Q&A. It's a little button that you have on your screen with a Q and an A. I think it's quite obvious. And you just print your anonymous or your named question in there. But I've got one question for you, Vince. Most of our viewers, they are not geologists or even gemologists. They are salespeople of jewelry, and all of us, we can be tourists sometime in the year. So when we travel to a gem producing country like Sri Lanka, Tanzania, Kenya, Thailand, it doesn't matter. Is it better to, I mean, the question is it better to buy the stone in the main cities, on jewelry shops, on gem dealers, or is it nice to go into the bush and try to find the mine and buy our own stones as a tourist, as souvenirs on those mines? What would be your recommendation to all of us that travel and we might get into some place that has that produces gemstones?
Well, it's, you know, for example, if you travel to Sri Lanka and your goal is to, you want to buy a nice sapphire because you go on Sri Lanka, I don't know, it's your honeymoon with your wife and things like that. And you expect to find a 10-carat beautiful sapphire at the mine, you're dreaming. Gemstones are rare. They are rare at the mine. Now, they are rare, they are beautiful, but they are also durable. That means that durable, it means that when you have a 10-carat sapphire that is produced somewhere at a mine, in 200 years, this 10-carat sapphire will still exist. A sapphire is not like a bottle of wine. When the bottle of wine is drank, you know, you have drink it and you need to go to buy another one. A sapphire is not the same. You will die and this sapphire will go to another person and another person, another person. They stay in the trade and they come back. So if you want to find a beautiful stone, go to a trade show. You will go to the Bangkok show, to the Hong Kong show, to Tucson, you will see thousands of beautiful stones. Go to an auction, you know, Christie, Sotheby, you will see thousands of beautiful stones. But going to the mine and be able to see a beautiful stone, I have seen that in 20 years, a nice stone being mined in front of my eyes, maybe one or twice.
Another interesting question. Once I went to the Batalha mine in Paraíba, in Brazil, and at the mining site, not in the mine, but in the surroundings, I was shown what was reportedly something, a very old stock from a very old miner. And when I looked at it, it was Mozambican material, clearly from Mozambique, nothing to do with the Brazilian material from that area. Does it happen? I mean, when you travel to mining sites, are you presented with gem materials that you clearly see that they are not from there, or they are not natural materials? Like, for instance, I remember when the rubies came about in Vietnam many years ago, a lot of flame fusion synthetics were being tumbled, and they were presented as pebbles, as river pebbles, in for whoever was visiting.
Yeah. Well, the first time I bought a gemstone, I was in Vietnam. I was working as a tour guide. I was in the tourism industry. And, you know, a guy came to me and told me a nice story. I was on my way to Sapa and things like that. And he said his wife was sick and he was farming. And then when he was farming, he found some nice rubies under his paddy field. And now he needs some money to pay for, you know, the hospital of his wife. And if I buy the stone, you know, I can save the life of his wife. And then maybe when I come back in Paris, I can make a profit. When I was telling that story to one of my friends in Burma, Dr. Sonau, he told me one very good advice that I remember to these days. Miners are afraid to speak, and dealers tell stories. So when you go to a mining area, there is all the time, you know, you look like a tourist or a group of tourists. You are in a weak position because basically you want to buy. And some people know that you want to buy. And not all the people are friendly. You have some people, they are predators. They are looking around, they say, oh, this guy looks like a tourist. He knows probably nothing. I will be able to make a huge profit with that guy. So the guy will come to see you, he will tell you a nice story, will take you to visit the mine, and then at the end, he will try to sell you a synthetic. When you go to a mining area, you are dressed like a tourist, you look like a tourist. Basically, probably the first people you will meet are crooks. Because these guys are here to prey on tourism. I was, for 10 years, I was a tour guide, and I saw people, trying to take advantage of tourists for 10 years. And when I go to the field, I see exactly the same. So if you dress like a tourist, you will attract all the crooks. So I don't dress like a tourist because I don't want to see all the crews coming around me.
Yes, and people are afraid of Indiana Jones, so you can whip.
No, it's not Indiana Jones. I'm not Indiana Jones. I don't whip people. I don't, I just do research. I adapt. When I go to Afghanistan, I don't have this hat. You adapt. You look at the situation. What are the problems? What kind of problem you can have there? If I have the hat today because you asked me to come on this talk and to have the hat, so I adapt. You invite me, you tell me, Vincent, come with your hat, it will be better. Okay, I come with the hat, but I don't really need the hat. There is no sun over me. I'm in my room. I just have the hat because you asked me and I adapt. When you go to a mining area, the best way to get protected is to be with the right person, somebody who knows the place, a local person, and then the crooks say, oh, these guys, they are with the owner of the mine. They will not, all the crooks will not come to try to sell you stuff. They will not come to try to cheat you. So predators study the prey. If you dress like a prey, if you behave like a prey, if you want to buy and everybody sees that your eyes, you have too much money and you want to spend, you will have all the predators coming to you. Now, if you act a little bit differently, if you play a role, a character, and you are with the right person, you will just meet, you will be safe buying. You will be able to maybe buy a great stone and things like that. So, like people say in the old days, buy stone from trustable sources. You have, that the guy next door, the small business in your town, this guy is knowledgeable, he's a good jeweler, he's passionate about gemology, his stones are good and he's taking care about that. Probably you will have less chance to be cheated buying from these stores than going to the mining area, buying stone from people you don't know.
Interesting. Well, Vincent, thank you very much for those two questions. Now I'm going to share my other screen and show our attendees your social media and your YouTube channel. While I said that you would have a quiz to fill up, a survey, like a quiz, and I forgot to touch the right button. So now you have it on your screen. And while I share my screen and explain the social media, Vincent, if you want to have a look on a Q&A log, and a lot of nice questions are popping up right there, so you can then choose what I do. I choose the easy questions, but I'm sure that you will respond to every question. So I'm going to share my screen to show Vincent's social media. So this is his YouTube channel with the 10,000 subscribers already, and this is my Facebook. It's I don't use much Facebook, but people use it. It's under my name. This is my Instagram, which I use much better. And by the way, let me show you Vincent's Instagram account. And he's doing a terrific story every day. By the way, let me share this with you. It is called the One Day, One Reference Stone, One Story. And he basically uses stones from his reference collection that he collected over 20 years of field trips, like he showed you, and he shares the fantastic stories, and he's creative enough to write those stories in an interesting way that are not difficult even for non-gemologists to understand. So make sure you follow him as well in here. And this is my LinkedIn account, where it's it's nothing very important. What I would also like, I'm going to unshare my screen now so you can see my my face again. I'm going to end the poll, and I'm going to share the results. And from now on, Vincent, he can go with you in each question and discussing whatever we were doing. And then the Q&A will be between you and them. And there is one question that I would love for him to give particular attention, which has to do with women in field gemology. That's a couple of women have asked things like that. So I'm sure that you will cover what is to be a woman as a field gemologist or on a field trip. So I'm sure that you will pick that one up. But before that, let's see the poll results and discuss that with you, Vincent.
So the first question was, is it better to go to the field alone? No. I went several times in the field. I had some problem. I broke an arm. I get malaria 2 times. When you are sick, you know, in a very bad hotel room in Tenga in Tanzania, and you have malaria, and basically you cannot do anything, you are very happy to have a good friend next to you in order to take care of your problem. When suddenly the police or the immigration try to harass you and to make you afraid, and they, for nothing, they put you in they bring you to the police station and things like that, you are very happy to have somebody, you know, who is kind of call to your embassy, your family. You know, working as a team is safer. When you go to a place you don't know, it's good to have friends. Now, there are some places I will travel maybe more alone, but I never travel alone. I have all the time a local contact. So no, don't go to the field alone. Okay, before to go to the field, is it important to read article or book about the place you want to visit? Sure, you know, research starts when knowledge finish. So if you want to do research, first you read everything, you collect all the information you get about one subject, about a place, and then you can write an article about the thing because you know where knowledge finish. So you know that this was written by this guy, you give credit to the guy, and then you add the brick to your, you know, the pile of knowledge about the subject. So when you want to go to the field for research, you want to know, okay, what I can read on this area, there are 3 mines. Then you go there, you see there are 4. Oh, okay, in all the articles there were 3, now there is 4. So you know that there is a piece of knowledge that you can add, you know, to the common knowledge in gemology. So you will be able to have your contribution. So it's important to know, and you might get some really useful information. So yes. The most important in a field gemology is to reach the mine. Multiple choice, true or false? No, it's not to reach the mine. The most important is to come back safe. You see, there are many areas I failed when I tried to visit them. Well, the reason why I was able to succeed visiting them is that I'm still alive. So if you see that for you or your team, there is a danger, please don't take risk. Don't put yourself on the people traveling with you or the miners in danger just because you want to visit the mine. If you see that this is dangerous and you don't feel that this is okay, you step back and maybe you try again tomorrow, or maybe you try again next week or next month or next year or in 5 years. So maybe in 10 years, you will succeed to visit this mine. You don't have to die today if you can visit the mine tomorrow or the next day. So please don't take too much risk and be safe. 4, in the field, what is the best? The best tool is a brain full of knowledge and wisdom. Sure, you can have all the money and all the tools that you can imagine. You can have a full lab with you in the field. If you don't know how to use the instrument, it's useless. So, knowledge and wisdom are great, and especially it's super light. You can invest and you can buy a lot of knowledge, you study and see that, you have that in your head. It's very light to carry, and it's available all the time. You don't have to ask to somebody, it's in your brain. So wisdom you cannot really buy. There are some people, they are not very wise. I'm not super wise. I make mistakes, but I try to learn from my mistakes. Now, one of my Burmese friends told me in the past, he said, well, Vincent, because I bought some synthetic, I was cheated in Vietnam with a synthetic, and then I was cheated again in Myanmar. I bought again synthetic in Myanmar. That's the way I turned into a gemologist. I was cheated twice when I was in the tourism industry. So then I decided to start to study gemology in order to stop being cheated. And my Burmese friend told me, you know, Vincent, there are three categories of people in this planet. There is a wise guy. They don't make mistakes. They learn, they read everything and they learn from the mistake of the others. Then there are the clever guy. They make mistakes. They don't learn from the others. They make mistakes, but they make sure that they don't do the mistake twice. And then there is a third category of guys who don't, listen. They are not wise. They are not really clever. They are stupid. So he told me, Vincent, you have the opportunity to be a clever guy. You fail already as a wise guy. Please try to be a clever guy and don't do the same mistake again.
Interesting.
So I was feeling like, oh shit, this guy is shooting on me like, okay. Okay. 5. The difference between field gemology and gem trading is that field gemology seek knowledge, while gem merchant seek financial benefit. Yeah, sure. There is nothing wrong about being a gem trader. You want to be a gem trader and you want to go to visit a mine. That's probably not the best thing to do when you're a gem merchant, because when you go to see mines, you don't see much stones. So if you are a gem trader and you have money to buy because you say, okay, I'm coming on this trip, I have $50,000 or $100,000 to spend, and I need to do that in 1 week in order to cover my business and things like that, and you expect to go to the mine and to find something to buy, most of the time it doesn't happen. That's why when I go to mining area, I don't see gem merchant. I don't see buyers. The miners are going to the market to sell the stone. It's not the big buyers. They are not going. They are going to trade shows. They are going to where the gemstones were concentrated. But at the mine, most of the time there are very few stones. So, well, I don't meet a lot of gem buyers. Well, there are the local one, small gem business, but at the mine it's difficult to buy stone. So, yeah, but you go to the mine, you come back with knowledge. Correct.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Vincent. I'm going to unshare the poll. And by the way, just before I give you the floor for the Q&A, because you have quite a lot of questions to go over, just wanted to tell you that Henry Ho says hello in the chat room. You cannot, because you are concentrated, you cannot see. And the Vincenzo Liverino also, and the Roland Naftul is on the room. So you've got some wise guys in the good sense. watching your
Henry is more than wise. He was
Henry is
if I know how to buy stone in Burma, I went 12 times in Myanmar with him, and he's the one who teach me about buying stone in the field, and we had some great time together. And also he is the one who for the first time when I told him that I wanted to go to the field in order to build a reference collection, when I was director for AIGS, I present him a business plan. I say, okay, this is what my plan will be in order to do that. So I need your support to finance this field expedition. So he said yes. We were coming at a crisis point, and then I came with that solution. I say, if you support me on that, then I do that, on that, on that. So we made a step to each other, and we started field gemology together. He turned my hobby into a profession for the first time. So as a director for AIGS, I went 2 times in 2005, 2006 for 3 months, 3 full months in the field, thanks to Henry's support. And Henry didn't wanted to put all the money, so he said, okay, I pay for 50%, you have to find another partner who will cover 50% of the cost of the expedition. So I went to see the Goublin lab, and Goublin said, okay, we can share with you at the AIGS, and Goublin covered 50% of my cost.
Fantastic.
So thanks to Henry and Goublin, I was able to turn field gemology from my hobby, where I was learning, into my profession. For the time I was at the AIGS, and then it was thanks to Ken Scarratt and GA that, I turned again my hobby into my profession from December 2008 to January number 17. with GIA.
Yeah,
Now I'm
exactly.
independent, and I'm doing field gemology in an independent way.
Mhm. Before I give you the floor to the Q&A, I just wanted to make a comment. You mentioned instruments, right? And sometimes we have really good instruments. And usually I compare a good gemological instrument, high-tech gemological instrument, with a very fast motorbike. So if you don't know how to drive that motorbike, you will go off the road in the first turn. So you can have the best instruments in the world, but if you don't know how to use them, and learning how to use them is, as you said, using the brain and knowledge, it's pointless to have expensive and fancy equipment. So the first thing is to learn and to have knowledge and know
If you
your
don't,
limitations, and then you
correct.
can use.
If you don't know how to use an instrument, it's better for you not to have any instrument at all.
Exactly, that's my point, exactly. And so before I give you the freedom for you to choose your answers, I would like for you to comment on what is to be a female, a woman on the field, on a field trip. Are there challenges? Are there advantages or disadvantages depending on the place of the world? And could you comment on that?
Well, I think that women can go to the field. I really like to travel to the field with women. This is the way you get a lot of present from the miners. When you go to a mining area, you have many guys mining. And when they see me, if I come with two guys of my size that looks like, I don't know, former militaries and things like that, and the miners see, oh, three guys that look like mercenaries that are coming to the mine. What should we do? Should we welcome them? They say, oh, maybe these guys are coming and they want to get information on steal our mine and things like that. So they will get suspicion. Now, if they see me coming with two beautiful ladies, they say, oh, there is a guy with two beautiful ladies, maybe we should welcome them to visit the mine. So there is a very big advantage to be a woman in the field, because most of the time in the field, you will find a lot of guys. And guys prefer to speak to the woman than to speak to me. So if I want the miner to speak to me, it's a kind of, I found that this is great to have women for many reasons. Number one, the miners are more happy when I bring women, they are very happy. And when I go to the field with women and then the next year I come back with guys, the guys are, oh, but last time you had some great girls and now you come back with these guys, they are nice, but we prefer the other one. So women are great for that. Number two, I had a lot of trouble. I had, guys can be great, but I had most of the problem I had going to the field were with guys. I had very few problems with women. Women behave very well about getting the right attitude. The girls I had, in expedition, most of the time behave very well. A few exceptions, but when I compare with the number of guys and the number of girls, I can tell you, the kind of stupid things that were done in the field by the people traveling with me, guys this way and ladies basically that way. So yeah, they are hardworking and they are helpful, and it's great. And okay, do you have any women field gemologists? Well, currently, professional field gemologists, I know two people. There is me and there is Wim. Before there was Andy Lucas, he was field gemology on the education side at GIA, but now he's not anymore at GIA, he's at Gill Lab, and I don't think that his title is exactly field gemologist. So there are two people who are making a living with field gemology, me and Wim. So there is no woman. Now, could a woman do that? Yes, I think so. No problem. If you have the right skills. If you are, if you want to work in a lab, if you have a degree in analytical chemistry, and you are a good lab gemologist, and then as a good lab gemologist, you want also to do research and go to the field, yeah, you can do that, no problem. But so far, I don't have met any woman ready to do what is necessary to spend 10 or 20 years in the field and to have a career as a field gemologist. Many women like to travel to the field, to see what are the mines, like many normal people, and I think that nearly everybody in the industry should go to the mine. If you're working with gemstone, it's great to go to the mine. you don't have to do research, but you can see what is going on, and then you will be able to speak to your customer with more confidence because about what you have seen, about your feelings and things like that. So it's very positive, I think, and you will be able to realize how the miners are working. So yeah, I strongly advocate women to go to the field. They wear the jewelry. Why should they? Why cannot they go to see what is going on there? Now, if you're a woman and you want to go to the field, you have some advantage. And there are some inconveniences. So you have to look at your situation. What are my strong points? What are my weak points? And get yourself ready. So you work on your weak point. Me, I like to travel with women because if I go alone, the guy thinks that, oh, yeah, he's a guy with a beard and things like that. He looks like a South African mercenary sometime. You know, so if I have a woman with me, I look more friendly. So, well, now, if you're a woman and you feel that you are in danger, why don't you travel with a guy? Take a photographer, a cameraman, work with him as a team. I don't advise to go to the field alone. So I don't advise any woman to go to the field alone, but I don't advise any guy to go to the field alone. So go as a team. Go with the right people. That's a key point. You go with the right people. Going to the field, my opinion, is the same as dating. Same. If you're a woman, like you read this time, this year, these days in article and see what is the most dangerous thing you will do in your life? The most dangerous decision you will have to do in your life? Well, is finding a boyfriend or a husband, because when you look at statistics, you are most likely to be killed by your husband as a woman than to be killed by a terrorist. Yes. There are women, they marry the wrong guy and then they get in trouble because they married the wrong guy. When you go to the field, my advice, go to the field with the right guy. So how to choose the right guy? Well, that's called dating. First, you go to have a drink, or maybe you go to have a lunch, or you go to have a dinner, you go to spend maybe an evening, a weekend. And if you see that this person is okay for a weekend, maybe you try him for maybe 1 week or maybe 2 weeks. So if you want to go to the field with somebody for 2 weeks, maybe study the guy for 2 weeks. I don't travel to the field with people that I don't know, with people that I've never met. And I recommend the same for people, except if you travel, for example, on an organized tour, like ICA organize, a mine tour, you have this association, CIBJO, some organization, you are members, they organize mine tour. In that case, it's great to travel with people that you don't know because you will make connection, and you might make new friends. But if you go on a solo expedition, my advice, go with people you know. Go with people, if you can spend 2 weeks holiday with that person, you might be able to have a nice 2 weeks expedition with that person. If after 3 days, you cannot stand anymore that guy, don't go with the field with that guy. It's common sense. Yes, it's about the same. You want to go for 2 weeks in Paris with who? Going to the field, going to Paris, going to New York for 2 weeks. When you go to the field, most of the time you will share maybe the same room. You will be all the time with this person for lunch, breakfast, dinner, all the time. The only time you will be alone will be when you will be in the shower or in toilets. So if you cannot really stand the people you are traveling with, I can tell you after 1 month, even sometimes with friends, it's difficult because you get tired, because you're hungry, because there is this and that. So when you build a team to go to the field, you want to make sure that you go with people who are happy to be with each other, who will work, efficiently. It's the same as going on a boat. There is a captain, there is this guy and this guy. You need to have a good team that work well together. So Vincent, that's why.
Is the same that everybody is now at home for a month all together. Is practically the same. We are confined.
You want to be confined to, FIELDGEMOLOGY the same as confinement. You want to go to the field 1 month with somebody. If you can stay confined with 1 month with that guy, okay, that's a good candidate for you to go to the field. If you cannot stay 1 month confined with that guy, my advice, don't go with him 1 month in the field.
So Vincent, I'm going to give you the floor, and I will stay here. I will kill my video and my audio so you can be freely answering and replying to all the questions that people are kindly asking you. So you can do however you wish. But I'm taking the time for people that want to leave the room, because we are over 1 hour now, because usually these webinars are only 1 hour, but this is so interesting that we keep on going and going, and you are a natural speaker, so you can be there for many hours sharing your knowledge with everybody. So thank you very much.
I was working as tour guide for 10 years. I was paid to speak for 8 hours to people in a bus. Some people were interested, some people were sleeping, but I had to speak on the microphone.
Yeah.
And I took the microphone at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was putting down the microphones at 6 p.m. So I can speak for hours, yes.
So there you go. I relate to that.
That's
so,
why I don't like to travel alone. I like to have people to speak with sometimes, to exchange ideas, to learn from. You know, I ask questions to people around. When they don't answer, you know, I feel a bit, oh shit, you know, this guy don't want to speak with me. Something is wrong.
I just want to thank you publicly for having accepted this invitation. Thank you everybody for coming. Vincent will stay here in the room replying to your questions. And I would also like to thank Sibjo for having a big room so we can have a lot of people here today. And we did have a few hundreds of attendees today. And from morning to afternoon, I think we've done like 12 to 1300 people total. So we reached quite a nice number today. So thank you very much, Vincent. Thank you very much, Sibjo.
I'm impressed. I'm really impressed with that, because you know, when, for example, my social media and things like that, that are quite, you know, when you have 500 people liking your photo, this is huge. But to have 1,000 or 1,200 people coming to watch the talk, I was not thinking, I was telling you, I will have been very surprised if I was not thinking you will reach 1,000 people. I'm super surprised.
That's the usual on these webinars. Usually, I think the record was 1,400 people, but
yeah,
it's
I
about...
think that I call that the Rui effect, and especially on a subject like field gemology. Come on, there are two guys who are paid to do field gemology, me and Wim, and you have 1,200 people. You have 1,200 people, you know, interested in what two guys are doing.
That's amazing. That's because it's adventurous. It's the stories that you tell every day on your Instagram. They are fantastic, and you are sharing some of those stories here with us, and it's like fascinating.
You know, Cornerstone trade and cornerstone research is a tiny, small part of the industry.
Yeah.
So it's
nice to have you here, Vincent. I leave you with the questions and leave you with the audience. Thank you, Sibjo. I'm killing my video now, but you will be. This is not over.